Hi guys, I will be getting a new camera in, I would say by March of, in 3 months time, in March of 2018 at the latest. Uh, there won't be too many more videos where I'm shooting the video on this, very poor quality, built-in cam on my crappy laptop. So in the next 3 months at the very longest, I will get a much better camera that has a function where you can upload the videos to YouTube very, very quickly and with good audio and with good video quality. So by March of 2018, or in 2 to 3.5 months, 2 to 3.5 months time, I will have that better camera with better video and much better video and much better audio. So in this video, guys, I am going to reveal what my #1 rap or hip-hop album of 2017 was. In my personal opinion, my top hip-hop or rap album of 2017 is a collaboration album by two very lyrically skilled and gifted hip-hop artists. My top album of 2017 is Apathy and OC, Perestroika. So Apathy, he's one of my favorite rappers. He's spent his whole career doing underground hip-hop. He's associated with Jedi Mind Tricks, Vinnie Paz. He's a member of the Army of the Pharaohs Collective. He's a member of, famously, the Demigods crew. I'll put links for all the information below the video. He's a member of the Demigods crew. Him and Self-Titled were the two main founders of the Demigods. As well, he's a member of Vinnie Paz's Jedi Mind Tricks related. So it's a clique of hip hop artists and producers who are all related stylistically to Jedi Mind Tricks and the Vinnie Paz. That would be the Army of the Pharaohs Collective. So Apathy is a member of AOTP, Army of the Pharaohs, and he's a member of the Demigods. Those are two legendary underground hip-hop crews. AOTP, Army of the Pharaohs, and the Demigods. And OC, Omar Krettel, is what OC stands for. It's just the initials for his first and last name. OC, he's been around since the late 80s. He's out of New York City. He was heavily associated in the prime of his career from about 1991 to 2000 maybe. So from about 1991 to 2000, OC, Omar Krettel, was associated with Big L, the late great Big L. May he rest in heaven's paradise. So Big L, Lamont Coleman, Big L. He was associated with one of the most famous rappers of all time, Jay-Z, back in the day, from about 1993 to about 1997 maybe. So he was associated with Big L, Jay-Z, Jaz-O, otherwise known as Big Jaz. Jaz-O, who was the mentor of Jay-Z. Big Daddy Kane, when Big Daddy Kane released some of his material in the 90s. And, of course, he's associated with the Digging in the Crates crew, DITC. So both Apathy and OC are members of legendary underground hip-hop crews. Digging in the Crates, I'll put a link for information about that hip-hop collective. Fat Joe is actually probably the most mainstream famous member of the Digging in the Crates, the DITC crew. But yeah, so these two members of legendary hip-hop underground crews came together, Apathy and OC, to make this album, Perestroika. And this album, it's my top hip-hop album of 2017. They in tandem, they work together very well. They have it all, like multisyllabics, storytelling ability. They have delivery, flow, humor in their lyrics. They have emotional lyrics. They have storytelling. They have hardcore lyrics, battle rap kind of lines. They have humorous lyrics, punchlines. The Apathy and OC are two very, very well-rounded MCs. And when they came together to make this album, it did not disappoint me as a hip-hop head, especially as an underground, alternative, and independent hip-hop head. So I don't really fuck with the mainstream, if you will. I mostly look for underground, independent, and alternative hip-hop. And when Apathy and OC released Perestroika, this album did not disappoint me. When I first heard that it's been in the works since about May of 2015, when they first agreed to do the album. And it came out in late September. I'll put a link for Discogs. We'll give you the album release date and also the Bandcamp. So I also encourage you guys to buy this album, to buy Apathy and OC Perestroika. I'll send you a link in the information box below this video for Discogs, for Bandcamp, and for iTunes. Buy it, don't stream it. Buy it, because the whole album is a great album. Buy the album on iTunes or Bandcamp, if you can, or buy a physical copy if you're into retro vinyl or retro cassettes. This album it won't let you down. It's not heavily loaded with guest features. It has a very, very decent guest feature from Self-Titled on it. It has a few other guest features, but it's not overloaded with guest features. It has somewhat of a motif of the Soviet Union and communism, but that's a metaphor for the ongoing Cold War, if you will, between underground hip-hop, or as I would call it, real hip-hop, and pop hip-hop, or mainstream hip-hop. That's how Apathy and OC chose to describe it, as a kind of a Cold War between the real shit, the real hip-hop, the underground, alternative, and independent hip-hop, and the kind of shit you'd see in the mainstream, like the fucking awful new album that Eminem came out with, Revival. Man, I took a listen. That was a bad album, and I used to be a fan back in the day of Eminem. Or something like Damn by Kendrick Lamar, his album. It's awful, with the exception of maybe one song. Of course, in the underground, artists like Apathy and OC have the freedom, the creative freedom and the creative expression, where they're not limited like a guy like Eminem or Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole or G-Eazy or Drake or whoever, right? Migos, or even a Joey Badass, who is one of the better mainstream rappers out there. Joey Badass of the Pro Era crew, him and his Pro Era collective are some of the more talented. I wouldn't call Pro Era mainstream. The other members of Pro Era are not really that mainstream. But as a solo artist, Joey Badass is getting pretty big, and he's one of the few decent, who you'd call mainstream, younger hip-hop artists who I don't find whack, really. But I'm not a big fan of J. Cole, but he can spit from time to time. He's not very consistent. He can spit, but often he goes off on a kind of a music that would appeal to like a teeny bopper crowd, when he could do a lot more hardcore, lyricism, and he could deliver his almost the same type of motif or theme or subject matter, but do it in a more lyrical and a less pop music-like way. He has the ability to do that, but he's made the choice not to, obviously, because he wants to make money and be in the mainstream. But the guys who deserve attention are artists like Apathy and OC. They never became famous in the mainstream, and I don't think at this point they care to be famous in the mainstream. They're so far beyond any of these mainstream artists, with the exception of Eminem, before Eminem really fell off. And when I say that, I mean, I'm talking like a 1994 to a 1998 Eminem. So that's years ago. I would say that version of Eminem from 1994 to 1998 is lyrically better than OC. Although OC is a very dope MC. But I've listened to them throughout their whole careers, and Eminem has never been better than Apathy, ever, in his whole career. Apathy has always been several steps ahead of Eminem when it comes to lyricism. Apathy's been in the game, at least on recordings, as early as 1995. He was on the first Jedi Mind Tricks album from 1997, and their first singles and EP from 1996, I believe. But he's been on recorded material since he was in grade 11 or 12 when he was growing up in Connecticut. He's been in the game in the studio for coming up 23 years here, so he's not new to the game, Apathy. OC has been in the game in the studio for almost maybe 30 years. So Perestroika is my album of the year. Now I know we all have individual tastes. Some people will say, "Oh, I can't really listen to it and smoke weed or something like that," or they'll say, "I can't dance to it." That's not what an album like Perestroika is meant for. It's not meant to be danced to, or it's not meant for you to. It's not stoner rap, like. Although stoner rap, by definition, doesn't. There's a lot of great artists who are, if you want to call them stoner rappers, Cypress Hill, Mellow Man Ace, Cottonmouth Kings. There's so many more, but Potluck, there's King Spade, there's so many, but it's not really the chillax or chill and listen kind of thing of maybe how people view Snoop Dogg. So how people view Snoop Dogg in the mainstream is just, I'll listen to him with he kind of has a hip pop sound. pop music, kind of hip hop sound, and people kind of listen to that, and they'll relax and listen to it and smoke weed, but not really focus on intricate lyricism as much. But also the type of rhymes that MCs like Apathy and OC spit, they aren't meant to be for that. They're meant to be listened to thoroughly and repeatedly to understand the meaning and the nuances in the music, in the lyrics, and and also they're not, obviously it's not hip hop that's club friendly or dance friendly. But if you're not a fan, even just the album is some of this. There's a video. My favorite song on the album, my favorite track on the album is Soviet Official. That's my favorite track from this album, and you can find a link. I'll just put the YouTube link below to the video. It's not for everybody, but if you just give it a chance and let it grow on you, it's a great album. They're great artists, and I urge you guys, if you like what you hear, to buy other albums by Apathy and OC. They could use the money. They make a full-time career out of underground, alternative or independent hip-hop, but they deserve to make more than they do, in my opinion, because they're vastly, vastly underrated. So if you're a fan of them, buy their stuff in physical format, retro vinyl, retro cassette, CD, buy their stuff on Bandcamp, buy their stuff on iTunes, buy their stuff any other way you can online. Even stream it, because they'll get some money from that. But just support these two artists. If you're a fan of old school Nas or something like that, who OC was, OC knew back in the day, in the early to mid 90s, before Nas became much, much, much more mainstream. If you're a fan of old school Nas or old school Wu-Tang Clan, when Nas or Wu-Tang Clan were in their prime, from 90, in the case of Wu-Tang Clan, from 93 to 97, or in the case of Nas, from about 91 to about 1996. If you like that kind of stuff, you'll like Apathy and OC Perestroika, the album. So I highly recommend this album. If you're a fan of underground hip hop, this album will not disappoint you. And I personally feel that this album was the best of 2017. In a previous video, I mentioned my runners-up, but this album, above all, is the album that really stuck with me. And just in the box below the video, I will put links. I'll put a link for the YouTube video of Soviet Official. It's for the music video of it, and you'll see how dope both Apathy and OC are. So I recommend this album. I recommend you buy it in digital format or stream it from, not illegally, obviously, or buy it on CD, vinyl, or retro cassette, on cassette tape. Buy this. Give them some money. Buy their merchandise. I'll leave the relevant links below the video. Please support these two artists. Thank you, guys.